In this learning module, we will explore the topics of nutrition and its role in growth and development. As a professional healthcare provider, you will be responsible for ensuring your patients receive the best care and service possible. Part of the service includes providing patients with a better understanding of how our bodies grow and develop, as well as how different foods can directly affect that process. In addition, you will also be responsible for developing patient-focused health and wellness plans designed to improve patient quality of life. Let's first look at how food affects our bodies. Food nourishes our bodies by supplying nutrients and calories to function in three specific ways: providing energy for activities, building and maintaining body tissues, and regulating body processes. To ensure that our bodies are able to perform all of these functions, it is important that our bodies receive specific nutrients. Macronutrients are those nutrients that our bodies require in large amounts, such as carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. These three macronutrients provide the body with the calories, or fuel, it needs to produce energy. Carbohydrates, a nutrient found mostly in plants and milk, are considered the body's main source of energy. On average, about 365 grams of carbohydrates are stored in the liver and muscle tissues as glycogen. Glycogen is able to provide the body with up to approximately 13 hours of energy to perform moderate activities. In addition, carbohydrates serve major functions in some of our vital organs, such as the liver, the heart, our central nervous system, and the only energy source to the brain. If our bodies consume more carbohydrates than it needs, the excess is stored in fatty tissues through the body. It is recommended that at least 50% of your daily caloric intake be comprised of carbohydrates. Protein makes up nearly 1/2 of the organic matter in our bodies and is an essential nutrient for life. In addition, protein also serves three main functions. The first is building and maintaining tissue. The second is regulating internal water and acid-base balance. And lastly, it acts as a precursor for enzymes, antibodies, and several other hormones. 20 different amino acids combine in different ways to form protein, of which 9 of these amino acids are considered essential because they cannot be manufactured by the body and they are essential for growth and development. It is recommended that between 14 and 20% of your total caloric intake be made up of protein, which can be found in all animals and plant products. If more protein is consumed than is necessary, our bodies will store the excess as fat in the body and be used as energy. Fats are another macronutrient and are essential in the production of linoleic acid, which is omega-7 fatty acid, and alpha-linoleic acid, which is omega-3 fatty acid, both of which are critical for normal growth and development. Fats are used for a number of things: to synthesize acid regulations of certain hormones, maintenance of tissue structure, assist with nerve impulse transmission, helps to promote the metabolism of stored energy, and it helps with memory storage. If our bodies consume more fats than are necessary, then that excess fat will be stored in fatty tissues, which can act as a fuel reserve, protect our organs from energy, and even prevent undue heat loss. It is recommended that between 25% and 35% of your daily caloric intake be from fats, which can be found in fatty fish, animals, and some plant products. Micronutrients like vitamins, minerals, and electrolytes are essential for proper growth and development, as well as hundreds of metabolic processes that occur daily. These specific nutrients are not used as a source of energy, and they are stored in small quantities by the body. Many micronutrients cannot be metabolized by the body, with the exception of vitamin K, biotin, vitamin D, and niacin. Water is the most vital nutrient our bodies need to maintain life. While we're able to go several weeks without food, we're only able to survive 3 days without water. Water provides several major functions, including providing turgor to body tissues, altering the configuration of substances for the metabolic process, transporting both nutrients and wastes, and maintaining a stable body temperature. It's important that our bodies remain hydrated throughout the day. It is estimated that between 2 and 2.5 liters of water is lost daily through our kidneys as urine, lost through our lungs as water vapors and expired air, and lost through our skin as perspiration. We are able to replace those lost fluids by drinking water, eating foods that have high water content like fruits and vegetables, and through our oxidative processes in our bodies. Our bodies utilize energy in 3 unique ways: resting energy expenditure, or REE, estimated energy requirements, EER, and thermogenesis. Resting energy expenditure is the energy, or calories, expended by our bodies when we are at rest under stable conditions. Resting energy expenditure, or REE, is the largest way in which our bodies consume energy. Estimated energy requirements, or EER, is the average dietary energy intake required to maintain energy balance in a healthy individual based on their age, gender, weight, height, and physical activity level. Thermogenesis is the smallest expenditure of energy and is the energy needed for the metabolic response to food intake. Thermogenesis accounts for only 7% of the total energy expended during the day. It was important for us to gain a better understanding of how our bodies create and expend energy. By learning how our bodies create, use, and store energy, we can now develop a more effective and patient-focused health and wellness plan. In order to develop the most effective health and wellness plan for your patient, it is imperative to obtain a complete and accurate health assessment. Regardless of the age of your patient, you will need to include the following steps to ensure an accurate and complete health assessment. The first step is to conduct a complete review of the related history. This includes identifying any history of illness, addressing any weight loss or weight gain issues, and noting anything that may be causing an increase in metabolic requirements. The next step is to examine the patient's past medical history. During this step, you will make note of any chronic illness, previous weight loss or gain efforts, family history, genetic or metabolic disorders, obesity, use of recreational drugs or alcoholism, and both personal and social history. As you are completing your health assessment, you will need to begin to address specific topics depending on your patient's age and gender. For infants and young children, you will also need to note if the patient is breastfeeding or being fed formula to ensure that they are receiving the proper amount of protein, calories, and nutrients. You will also need to identify any chronic illnesses such as inborn errors of metabolism, PKU, and/or cystic fibrosis. Finally, you should also determine whether or not the patient has any congenital anomalies such as a cleft palate, prematurity, neurological disorders, and/or severe congenital heart defect. For adolescent patients, your patient's health assessment, regardless of gender, should also include additional information detailing any preoccupation with weight, including over-concern with developing muscle mass, losing body fat, excessive exercise, the omission of perceived fatty food, and if they weigh themselves daily. You will also need to make notes concerning their nutritional intake to ensure they are receiving the appropriate amount of nutrients to support growth and development. When performing health assessments for women who are pregnant, you will need to make sure you document your patient's pre-pregnancy weight, their age, and their eating patterns or disorders. You should also identify any potential risks such as pica, alcohol, or inadequate weight gain and their nutrient intake during pregnancy. Finally, you should make a special note of any influence of disorders like diabetes or renal disease. To complete an accurate health assessment for older adults, you should make sure you include any information about chronic illnesses and also detail their energy level, including any regular exercise and activities. It's important to also note that the patient's weight loss of gain, their ability to locate and obtain adequate food, the number of meals they eat each day, and the types of food they normally eat. You will also need to note their medications and any potential interactions they may have with each other. Once you've concluded your patient interviews, you should then begin conducting your physical assessment, which includes height measurements, weight, waist measurement, waist to hip circumference ratio, mid-upper arm circumference, and tricep skin fold. To make sure you record accurate information, you should make sure you have the proper equipment: a tape measure with millimeter markings, a calculator, a standing platform scale with height attachments, and a table of norms for relevant age and gender groups. Be sure to pay special attention to your patient's waist circumference measurement and their waist to hip circumference ratio. These two measurements will provide you with critical information for determining your patient's potential risk for type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, hypertension, stroke, and ischemic heart disease. It's important to remember that a patient's weight and body composition can provide a lot of information about their health status and often provide clues to the presence of disease. When conducting a patient's physical exam, be sure to note the patient's standard height, weight, frame size, and calculate the body mass index using the formula KQ divided by M squared, which is kilograms divided by meters squared. Patients whose BMI is under 18.5 are defined as undernutrition. Scores between 18.5 and 24.9 are defined as appropriate weight for height. Scores between 25 and 29.9 are defined as overweight, and a BMI score of 40 and higher is defined as extreme obesity. For women who are pregnant, you will need to calculate their pregnancy BMI and then monitor their weight gain throughout pregnancy using the BMI weight gain curve guidelines on the prenatal weight gain chart. It should be noted that the MyPyramid food guide indicates the number of servings from each food group. When educating your patients, remember that the MyPyramid food guide does not address infant feeding. Stress that no one food is essential to good nutrition and that the variety is essential. When working with patients who have special dietary restrictions and/or adhere to specific cultural guidelines, it is important to remain sensitive to those patients' choices. For example, while working with a patient who has identified themselves as a vegetarian, you should remind them that variety is essential to meet their caloric intake needs and that because they're a vegetarian, there are 5 nutrients that they may become deficient in: protein, calcium, iron, vitamin B12, and vitamin D. When working with patients who subscribe to a cultural-based diet, you should utilize the food guide pyramid for the specific ethnic and cultural population you're working with. When conducting your evaluations, pay special attention to the balance between your patient's caloric intake and the energy expenditure. An imbalance between these can result in excessive body fat and can eventually result in obesity, which has been directly linked to numerous health issues including type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, dyslipidemia, and some cancers. Human growth and development depends on a sequence of endocrine, constitutional, environmental, and nutritional influences working together. The growth process requires a balanced interaction between numerous hormones. Somatotropin, also known as the growth hormone, is primarily located in the anterior pituitary gland. The human body secretes this hormone in pulses and helps promote growth and increase of organ size, as well as regulates carbohydrates, proteins, and lipid metabolism. Thyroid hormone is used to help stimulate growth hormone secretion. Furthermore, it stimulates production of the IGF-1, or insulin-like growth factor 1, and the interleukin 6 and 8, which play an essential role in bone formation and resorption. Finally, thyroid hormones also affects the growth and mutation of other body tissues. Insulin-like growth factor 1 is primarily produced by the liver and mediates the direct effects of growth hormones on the peripheral tissues. It also stimulates target cells that control connective tissue growth and ossification to stimulate muscle and skeletal growth. Ghrelin is another hormone that is critical to the biological processes of growth and development. Ghrelin helps to control growth hormone release and is influential in the development of peripheral tissues and gastric mucosa. Leptin is another hormone that is critical for growth and development. Leptin helps to regulate body fat mass and is thought to be triggered for puberty to occur. Both testosterone and estrogen are hormones that are linked to puberty. Rising levels cause release of gonadotropins, which further increase testosterone and estrogen release. Two hormones help promote bone maturation, epiphyseal fusion, and genitalia growth to adult proportions. A final hormone linked to growth and development is androgens, which is secreted by the adrenal gland and promotes the masculinization of the secondary sex characteristics and skeletal maturation. As the human body grows and develops, each organ system within the body peaks at different stages of development. During the fetus stage of development, we find increased development in the brain, skeleton, muscles, and adipose. In the early infancy stage, we see continued growth and development in the brain and skeleton. In addition to these developments, we also find weight gain as a rapid but decelerating rate, as well as trunk growth. During the adolescent stage, we find increased skeletal, muscle, adipose, and general development. We also see that trunks and legs elongate, 50% of the ideal weight is gained, and both skeletal mass and organ systems double. Pregnant women can also expect to see noticeable changes during their pregnancy, including progressive weight gain, which is slow during the first trimester, rapid during the second trimester, and slows in the third trimester. Older adults can also expect to experience some type of continued development, including a decline in their stature, thinning intervertebral disc, and the development of kyphosis with osteoporotic vertebral compression. It should be noted that there have been a steady increase in overweight and obese adults over the past 15 to 20 years. It has been suggested that this could be contributed to the increase of body fat as skeletal muscle declines, most likely due to decreased exercise and reduced anabolic steroid secretion. It has also been noted that various organs such as liver, lungs, and kidneys reduce in size and weight as we get older. Abnormalities in development can occur as a result of increase in hormones. Some of the more common occurring abnormalities you may encounter include acromegaly, a rare disease of excessive growth in distorted proportions caused by hypersecretion of growth hormones and insulin-like factors after closure of the epiphyses. Cushing's syndrome is the result of one of two possibilities, either a long-term exposure to excessive intake of the glucocorticoids such as prednisone, or the excessive secretion of the adrenocorticotropin hormone, ACTH, as a result of the pituitary tumor. Turner syndrome is a result of a missing second X chromosome, but it only affects females. Failure to thrive is a growth in an infant or child below the 3rd to 5th percentiles on a growth chart, or a slower than normal rate of growth in a short period of time. Growth hormone deficiency is a failure of the anterior pituitary to secrete adequate growth hormones to support growth and stature. Precocious puberty, the onset of secondary sexual characteristics before 7 years of age in girls and 9 years of age in boys with progressive sexual maturity. Regardless of the diagnosis you're working with each of your patient on, remember to treat each of your patients with the highest level of respect and dignity at all times. By maintaining a patient-centered approach, you will be able to provide each patient with the best possible care and help to create a trusting and safe environment.